our whole world collapsed in that day.
And whatever coward did this, I hope you caught. Turn yourself in.
It was willful, deliberate, premeditated. They wanted Lamont Adair dead.
He was a good child. He was a good guy. He was doing something that, mattered.
The video is chilling because you just see the brazen act very clearly.
And my brother did not leave the house thinking that he was going to die that day.
He was the one who made the call for him to come up there. He was the one who put Lamont in a location to be a victim of this murder.
Summer 2018. Seat Pleasant, Maryland. A tough suburb just outside of Washington, D.C. A 24-year-old aspiring basketball star, Lamont Adair, has just earned the opportunity of a lifetime. The chance to play professional ball in China.
Oh, he loved basketball. It didn't matter what was going on. If someone called him, Lamont, you want to play ball? He was there. I'm Urania Jackson. I am Lamont's older sister. He always had a basketball somewhere in his hands. Next to family, basketball was everything.
You think it's funny, too? You think it's funny?
He was just really excited. My name is Darlene Rainey. I'm Lamont William Adair Jr.'s mom. He didn't care if he went overseas. He didn't care if he played for the NBA. He just liked to play ball. I thought he played better than Michael Jordan, but
For him, it was like the break that he's been waiting for. Everything was falling into place. Everything was going the way he wanted it to go.
Lamont's path to professional success was full of adversity, but he's always had the support of an adoring family.
Lamont was born on October 23rd, 1993, in the morning, the day of my baby shower. I was helping, I wasn't supposed to be helping with the baby shower, but I was. So I started having labor pains.
We were setting up decorations and everything, and she started having contractions, and she drove herself to the hospital. I was in the 6th grade, and I remember being so excited. He had everyone's heart and wrapped around his fingers, basically.
A little spoiled, but in the sense that that's family, and he's a baby brother. Whatever he wanted, he could have gotten from any of us.
Oh, Lord. As a child, Lamont was very busy. Anything that we were doing, he wanted to do it. That's where his basketball career came in, because we would play basketball across the street from my grandmother's house. So whenever we played, we didn't go easy on him. We would just play him just like anyone else. Like, you're going to have to beat us to get to the court. So I think him going through that, it actually helped build his skill.
He started to really hone in on his craft. Like, he was really good at it and really competitive. And then when he started getting taller, it was just like, wow. We called him Monty, but on the basketball court, they called him Tree. He did own the name Tree, just like in his reach, reaching for the ball, being able to dunk.
High school success leads to a chance to play college ball in the Midwest.
He's the first out of all of my mom's kids to go away to college, so we're excited. Iowa was a bit far for us, but you know where he is, and he's going for a purpose.
I said, so what do you do out there in Iowa? He's like, they don't do anything but tip cows out here. And I was like, what is that? He's like, they tip cows over. I think he really missed home a lot.
After some basketball injuries and bouts of homesickness, Lamont drops out. Back in Seat Pleasant, he must contend with a different set of concerns.
The level of violence is escalating here. It worried him to come back home. He was scared that something would happen to him.
You would hear of gun violence. You would hear of, different tragedies. If you cross out of Maryland, you're right there in D.C., and sometimes the crime from D.C. would come over into Prince George's County.
But Lamont continues to work on his game, and in 2018, earns his shot to play in China. Months earlier, he received even more thrilling news from an ex-girlfriend. Lamont is going to be a father.
His son's name is Makai. I remember the first time meeting him, I was like, he is the epitome of his father. It just is amazing how DNA is passed to the next generation because he acts just like him. His stance and everything is just like him.
On August 7th, Lamont shares exciting news about his son with his sister Urania.
I remember he came and showed me a video, and he's like, "Did you see Makai walking?" He shows me the phone. He was like, "He's walking."
Oh my gracious!
And this is as he's leaving out of the door. And I give him a hug, and I said, you know, I love you, be safe. And he was like, "Okay, I'll see you later." And, you know, I hold that memory and I cherish it because who would ever think that that would be the last time I see my little brother alive?
The next day, Lamont's older sister receives an alarming call.
I'm at the gas station pumping gas. The phone rings. This guy that Lamont grew up with, he's like, "Your brother just got shot." He just got shot? Like, what do you mean he just got shot? "Oh no, your brother just got shot." And so, like, I started crying. I asked where it was. He said it was on Craig Street. And when I called 911, I told the operator that somebody just called me and told me that my brother was shot because they sent an ambulance. And she said the police were there. I'm praying that he's okay. Like, please keep the blood flowing to his heart.
I'm Jonathan Church. I am a Deputy State's Attorney in Prince George's County State's Attorney's Office. The police get a 911 call for the shots fired on Griggs Street. And when they arrive, they find that a man was suffering from multiple gunshot wounds.
My name is Thea Zumwalt. I'm an Assistant State's Attorney in Prince George's County, Maryland. Paramedics arrived within minutes of the call. He was found between a car, parked car, and then the curb, and they determined that he was unresponsive.
So as soon as he is pronounced dead, homicide unit shows up. One goal is to come collect all the forensic evidence that they can find. He has his phone with him. So they do identify him as Lamont Adair. And then that starts the homicide detectives running.
The reports that they were getting was that a car drove by and was firing. So they had casings all along the road that they had to make sure that they got them all.
There was somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 fired cartridge casings, which really indicates to us that the gun was fired probably to the point of where it was empty. It was apparent based on the location of the gunshot wounds that some of those are what's called defensive wounds, where he was moving and trying to avoid being shot at, which would give you an indication that the person was walking up on him as he was firing as well.
There were several buildings to this complex, and that apartment complex did have several cameras. So they made it a priority to secure the footage for that.
They don't get to view it right away, so they're dragging in as much potential evidence as possible that might help solve, number one, what that vehicle was, and then who was in the vehicle at the time, and then who would have had a reason to do this.
And once the initial scene is secured, and in this case there was no one who committed the crime who was on scene, so they were able to secure it pretty quickly. And it was a pretty large area that they had to cordon off.
So when we got there, they had it taped off and wouldn't let us get to where he was. And they was, you know, not letting me see him. That, "No, you can't come close." I said, "No, I'm going to see him." But when you deliver a baby and they cut the umbilical cord, it's still an invisible umbilical cord still there. Because you can feel one of your kids, there's something going wrong. I just think about how a waste of life it was.
Investigators discover critical clues in Lamont's final moments.
This person who shot Lamont knew him.
A surprising motive emerges.
The phrase everybody uses is, "the streets are talking."
There were several rumors that he was a snitch for the police.
And the killer's inner world is revealed.
He's hot-headed. He gets angry.
On 8/8/2018, this is where Lamont William Adair Jr., Tree, Monty was murdered at. Today is his 27th birthday. We miss you, Monty. Rest in peace. Baller for life.
As investigators process the scene of Lamont Adair's murder, local media race to cover the tragedy.
And whatever coward did this, I hope you caught. Turn yourself in.
So a crowd starts to gather because it's a very populated area and it's midday. There's an entire team of detectives that spread out and look at different things, knocking on every door of every apartment that had a window that oversaw where this happened, asking people's names and identification information and phone numbers. What did you see?
There really wasn't anything clear in the immediate information that the detectives received for them to go to figure out why him.
In search of leads, detectives turn back to a piece of evidence recovered from the crime scene.
When Mr. Adair is found, he has his phone with him, and the phone can be like a wealth, a treasure trove of information. They can identify who his family members are, who he is in particular, start talking with family members.
Later that evening, investigators asked Darlene about Lamont's movements that afternoon.
I told them they were living at my house. Lamont and Makai. Lamont had his room downstairs. So he was down there about maybe 2 or 3 hours playing with Makai. And then I think he got a phone call because he came upstairs and he went in he said, "Here, Ma, take him." He was going out to work out like he normally did, but he was meeting somebody.
What she didn't realize is what seemed like an everyday moment would be one of Lamont's last.
I don't know why, but something just told me, look out the door. When I saw him walking down the street, and he was gone.
So initially, after talking to family and friends of Lamont Adair, there isn't somebody that readily stands out as a suspect because he's not involved in anything that we're aware of that would have made him a target.
Investigators then turn their focus to Lamont's online activity in the days leading up to his final moments.
There are a team of detectives checking his social media to see who he posted recently with, what he might have said, whether it was something that might have been responded to hostilely.
From what was in his phone, he lived a normal 20-something-year-old talented, handsome individual's life. I mean, he played basketball, he dated women, he loved his little boy, loved his family.
There's videos of him on Instagram, and Makai would be on his legs, around Lamont's neck, and he's up here rocking him to sleep. And he'll fall asleep like that, like laying on his head.
On August 4th, just 4 days before he was murdered, Lamont posted images from a local charity event.
Lamont did a benefit basketball game for an organization called Hoops for Peace.
Do you guys feel that basketball saves lives in our community?
Oh, yes, definitely. Can't be out on the streets, As it is, my fault. So if you're in the gym and versus being in the streets, you might have just messed up movie that was for somebody else before you. It's better to be in the gym playing basketball or working out than being outside hanging with your friends.
Lamont was actually cautioning the kids about the streets not having anything for them. And so it's chilling.
He was saying, I'd rather be in the gym playing ball than to be getting somebody else's bullet or somebody shooting me.
On August 6th, 2 days before he was killed, Lamont posted this image on social media.
His reputation was he was active in his community. He was trying to inspire others to be better people.
There really wasn't anything definitive in his phone that pointed us in any direction about who did it.
Lamont's family, however, believe his growing notoriety and recent success may have made him a target.
A lot of people were upset with Lamont because of the opportunities that he has. And we're all like, we know he was just about to go play basketball overseas, and really, a lot of people were jealous of him.
He was headed to the basketball court not far from where he was shot and killed. Who was he meeting there? Were the people there that were supposed to be there? Where were the people that he was supposed to meet if they weren't there? One of the people that Lamont may have been going to play basketball with was a man by the name of Thomas.
As they process the events of August 8th, Lamont's family have grown suspicious of the friend who invited him to play ball that afternoon.
My brother did not leave the house thinking that he was going to die that day. Thomas told Lamont, let's go play basketball.
People were going around saying that Thomas set it up, which we felt that way anyway, because it was just too coincidental that you call him and tell him to come up and play.
Rumors suggest that Thomas may have coordinated with the gunman to get Lamont to Gregg Street.
If anyone were able to call him somewhere, it would be Thomas, because he trusted him.
The indication was that he was plotting to do this to Lamont. There were rumors. He knew that it was happening and they helped facilitate it.
Lamont's family have tipped off investigators to a friend who may have been involved in the murder.
Thomas was somebody who was on scene at the time of the murder. Detectives were looking at him as possibly being involved, or at least not telling what he really knew about it.
Thomas was one of the first names that I gave to the detectives. He was the one who made the call for him to come up there. He was the one who got him to come out of the house. He was the one who put Lamont in a location to be a victim of this murder.
Police actually interviewed Thomas. He came into the station and they interviewed him there to determine whether he might have been involved or what he knew.
Investigators begin by questioning Thomas about his plans for that day.
So when police talked to him, he's very quiet, trying to figure things out. You can tell he's contemplative. He had not yet met with Lamont and didn't know anything that was useful. They just didn't get any information that was usable from Thomas.
Detectives then set out to validate his version of events.
We had 6 or 7 cell phone dumps that we went through. His phone was pulled, and there was no indication that he had anything to do with the murder of Lamont Adair.
They could tell that he called Lamont up to the scene. He was the one who made the call for him to come up there. But they didn't feel like he was involved.
After clearing Thomas, detectives gain access to the footage from the housing complex that could reveal Lamont's final moments.
So when police actually pull the footage of this video camera that's on the corner of one of the apartment buildings, it does a 360-degree pan. Every couple seconds, it starts to pan away into the back through an alley to another street and then back around to the front. And we have very small snippets of it because it's rotating the entire time.
Detectives then cue the tape up to the moment in question.
And at about 3:49, 3:50 that afternoon, you can see an individual who we know is Lamont Adair based on where he falls and where police find him. And then eventually you see a gray Toyota Corolla pull up. And that's when the driver's door opens and the driver jumps out of the vehicle and approaches Lamont Adair.
The video is chilling because you see the figure just fire, shooting in broad daylight, and you see Lamont get down to his knees and he's trying to fight, but he's just executed on the street in front of everybody.
And then the camera pans out of view.
When the camera returns to the scene, the final moments of the tragedy unfold.
After he had shot Lamont, he runs back to the driver's side He can't get into the driver's side, and he hops to the back of the car. He gets in and the car drives away. You couldn't identify any movement in the car, but we were able to determine that there was somebody else in the car at the time who was in the driver's seat because the car drove away with the defendant in the back.
We know there's another person who witnessed the shooting, a person who slid into the driver's seat and shut the door.
To me, this person who shot Lamont knew him. I mean, it was willful, deliberate, premeditated. They wanted Lamont Adair dead.
I'm Aisha Braveboy, State's Attorney for Prince George's County, Maryland. Surveillance video can be extremely helpful in identifying suspects. In this case, however, it was very, very grainy, so it was very difficult to make out the features of the suspect.
You can tell that the driver who exited the car had dreads, was an African-American male. Beyond that, there was nothing in that video that could tell us who that was. It was a very small, common car, gray in color. There was nothing unique about it. There was no way to tell the license plate.
But upon rewatching Lamont's final moments, they observe someone else who may be able to identify the killer.
So the shooting takes place right here, but in the video you actually see this maintenance worker had pulled up to the main street where the defendant's car was traveling. But you saw in the video, they saw everything. And then initially when I reviewed this video, I said to Johnny, like, let's get this maintenance worker in.
Days later, investigators bring this eyewitness in for questioning.
How you doing, sir? I do appreciate you coming and taking the time to talk to me. I'm sure you're busy and really don't want to be involved. I just want to get some basic information from you. And what do you do over there? On the day of the shooting, you remember that day? Yeah. Can you tell me what happened?
I just let him pull up in the car because he just come pull up, start shooting.
The person that was doing the shooting, can you describe the person at all?
Right. We missed them. Lamont's 27th birthday, baller for life, celebrations of his life. This is Lamont's niece that he never met. She'll be a year old. All right, this month.
It's Calvin, a friend of Monty. Man, we miss you down here. You know, you want to live forever, be your family, real friends. Happy birthday, happy 27th birthday. We love you, miss you.
Happy birthday, Monty! 27th birthday!
Investigators are questioning a witness who observed Lamont Adair's final moments in hopes of identifying the shooter.
On the day of the shooting, you remember that day?
I just let him pull up in the car because he just come pull up, start shooting.
The person that was doing the shooting, can you describe the person at all?
I don't know the person who got shot. I don't know the one who shot.
Did you see someone get out of the car?
No.
No?
No.
Can't describe anything about them?
No, because I'm scared. I don't wait for, I don't look for nothing.
This maintenance worker, he didn't see anything.
You know, black, white, Asian.
No.
So it was a very frustrating, moment for us.
I appreciate you coming in to talk to me. I mean, of course, I wish you had more information, but I appreciate you.
The witness's failure to identify the shooter highlights a major challenge detectives are facing.
Sadly, there is an anti-snitching mentality for witnesses, and a lot of that probably is out of fear. They've got to live with the people that may have been involved in the incident.
I understand the very real danger that people may feel if they do talk about cases. But in this particular case, it was so frustrating to see the number of people out, and nobody saw anything who could really tell us where to go.
In the face of community silence, Lamont's family decides to speak out.
The neighborhood didn't talk. So we got together as a family and we're like, well, we need to go up there and protest. We walked from the street where he was murdered all the way down to the rec center.
What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now!
The thing that mattered to me most was making sure someone opened their mouth enough to find out who did this to my brother.
Don't sit and hide behind the windows and curtains. Tell what you know. I said, you know, today is my son, Lamont William Dale Jr. Tomorrow it could be your father, your brother, somebody you love, so you would want to tell what happened because you would want somebody to tell you what happened to your family member.
In the days following the protest, it's apparent that their message is getting through.
People had started inboxing me from seeing us on the news, from seeing us up there protesting, from us pleading with the community members to speak up.
The detectives fielded many reports from the family about what they had heard, who they heard it from, and the family was really active in trying to just find out information and funnel it to the detectives.
One rumor suggests that an incident in Lamont's past made him a target for revenge.
There were several rumors. One of them was that he was possibly a snitch for the police. That was basically that came up because he had recently, prior to this, had acquired a weed charge where he was found in a car smoking some weed.
Like most of the kids his age, Lamont has started recreational use of like marijuana. I think that's the way that he, you know, detached from his issues or problems. And he had gotten into some trouble, and they arrested him.
It seems that after the arrest, some individuals may have viewed Lamont with suspicion.
I don't believe he was in jail for very long when he had been arrested for that. And certainly some of the rumors that circulate is that if you're out quickly, that you must be working with the police. And I guess the phrase everybody uses is the streets are talking. And so some of the original rumors that went around were that potential suspects could be people who weren't happy about that.
Detectives reach out to their partners in the narcotics unit.
It wasn't a big charge. There would be no reason for him to want to subject himself to the dangers of becoming a snitch to work off a weed charge.
We had no knowledge that he had been working with police on anything.
Lamont didn't tell on anybody. He took the charge, and then he put that moment behind him, and he moved forward. Like, that little scare turned his life around.
It's another dead end. But then, a friend of Lamont approaches police, claiming she has knowledge about the gunman seen on the surveillance video.
Do you want something to drink real quick while I get my stuff?
No, I'm fine.
State your full name, please.
Kenya had asked to talk to the detectives in charge of the case because she believed she had some information about who had done it. And that's when the case really got started.
Detectives begin by asking Kenya about her connection to Lamont.
He's been over my house, but Lamont has been my friend for so long, I would never do anything to put him in any type of harm's way.
So, explain to me, you said you believe you know a motive.
Kenya then reveals something that she previously kept secret. She and Lamont were more than just friends.
So I'm not denying that Lamont and I had anything going on.
When did you start sleeping with Lamont?
We didn't start sleeping together until like June. And that's why I'm coming here.
According to Kenya, the relationship with Lamont pushed her ex over the edge.
What makes you think that, because of everything that was going on between you and him, that he would go and kill Lamont?
I really feel like he did it. He's hot-headed. He gets angry. He's a loose cannon. I feel like he did it just because of
the situation. I'm worried that if he did do this, he might come after me.
Well, what would make you think he would do it?
He told me he would kill me.
On August 10th, 2018, a woman named Kenya tells investigators that her ex, Franklin Scott, may have killed Lamont Adair.
She wanted the police to know that she and Franklin Scott had a pretty tumultuous relationship consisting of several protective orders, but also 2 young children. So they were on again, off again. I believe there was allegations that he had tased her. So there was definitely a rocky relationship there. That relationship officially ended in the beginning of May of 2018.
Because he's seen that Lamont was so supportive of me. He hacked into my Snapchat and he's seen how often Lamont and I were together.
Franklin Scott was clearly obsessed with Lamont Adair and the relationship that Lamont had had with Kenya.
Frank is short. He's like 5'3", and he's always self-conscious about that. Like, you don't want me because I'm small, I'm short, you want to tall. It's so messed up that you just moved on with a basketball player.
He lost it, knowing that she ran to basically his worst nightmare, a talented, tall, good-looking guy.
It makes me cry, but I really feel like he did it.
Then she offers more details that increase the detective's interest.
What's he look like?
He's short. He's about 5'3". He has dreads.
What kind of hair does he have?
He has dreads, long dreads.
How long are they?
Maybe like...
Down there?
Yeah.
He had long dreads. He matched the physical description of the person who conducted the shooting. Franklin Scott did have a prior firearms charge, so we knew from that he had access to weapons. So that also was something that we were looking at as important.
When they ask Kenya what type of vehicle he drives, she says that he used to drive a BMW and that was in the shop. She mentions that she believes he's been driving a rental vehicle, possibly a gray Toyota.
The same type of car observed in the surveillance video. Investigators then ask about her contact with Scott on August 8th.
She told police that she received a phone call from Franklin Scott the day of the murder. She was at work at the time.
He was in the car driving when I was speaking to him.
Do you remember hearing any voices, anybody else that could have been with him?
It was somebody else with him. He has like, I know his voice is kind of deep but high at the same time.
She said she recognized that voice to be Elijah Wan Jackson because his voice is characteristically raspy.
It was O.J. Jackson. He had a nickname of O.J. the Shooter. He had a prior record as well.
If you had to leave right now and go find him, where would you go?
I don't know. Mom, maybe at OJ's house.
At the time, the detectives were looking everywhere for him. They put out feelers everywhere trying to track him down. But after the murder, they were already gone.
To narrow the search, they continue to focus on the vehicle spotted in the video.
It's not until Kenya kind of comes out and we find out that the suspect rented a vehicle. She mentions a gray Toyota. Eventually, they do locate the rental vehicle, parked on a street in the Seat Pleasant area.
After the murder, Franklin Scott basically parked the Corolla and walked off.
A search of the car reveals bullet fragments inside. But there's no sign of the murder weapon. Then, in their quest to locate Scott, investigators recall a detail from his criminal past.
They knew that he had to report for his pending gun charge in Anne Arundel County.
One of the detectives realized that Mr. Scott had a court date. And so on August 23rd, Prince George's County Police Department were sitting on the Anne Arundel County Courthouse in Glen Burnie, Maryland, waiting for Mr. Scott to show up for his court date. And it was then that they arrested him for the murder of Lamont Adair.
If he had thought that Kenya would be likely to talk, I think he wouldn't have set foot in that courthouse.
He's taken to the Criminal Investigation Division for the Prince George's County Police Department, and he asks for a lawyer, so the police never get a chance to speak to him.
Eager to collect more evidence against Scott, detectives begin monitoring his phone calls from prison.
Within the week that he was arrested, he had made some jail calls asking his acquaintance to help him get rid of his babies, which the detectives were able to determine he was talking about his guns.
Locating the weapon used in the murder would bolster the prosecution's case.
Unfortunately, they listened to the jail calls a couple days after they were made, so by the time they were able to get a search warrant and search the house, there was no indication of any firearms there.
The failure to find the weapon is a blow to the investigation.
What we had at that time was not enough. It was enough for probable cause, which got Franklin Scott to be arrested, but it wasn't enough to find him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. We knew we needed somebody involved in that moment to be able to be in court and point at Franklin Scott and say he's the one who shot repeatedly at Lamont Adair and killed him.
That man is Elijah Jackson.
If we wanted who was truly responsible for this, we had to find him. So police immediately zeroed in to track him down.
To bring the killer of Lamont Adair to justice, investigators must track down his suspected accomplice, O.J. Jackson.
I had been watching social media, and O.J. was traveling. He would go to Texas or Florida, I think it was, come back. Like, he's active on his social media page.
But 16 days after the homicide, police get word that Jackson has returned to the Seat Pleasant area.
On August 24th, police find Elijah Jackson at his home, and that's when they bring him in to interview him about his involvement.
They interviewed him pretty extensively for a couple hours. At the end of the interview, he got real quiet, and the detectives asked him something, and he indicated that he wanted to talk to his mother. And his mother came in, and you saw a pretty profound exchange.
His mother tells him, you need to tell the police the truth. You don't need to be going down for this. You need to be honest.
Elijah Jackson is finally ready to provide a first-hand account of the tragic events captured by the security camera.
He made it sound like he bumped into Franklin Scott as he was walking. I think that Franklin Scott picked him up.
He hears Franklin Scott say, there he goes. The car slows down, pulls a gun out of the driver's side door, handle shoots out the window a few times, opens the door and jumps out of the car. And he says the car keeps going. And then he jumps over into the driver's seat and put the brake on.
Then Jackson observed Lamont's final moment.
Scott is standing over Lamont Adair and firing. I think it all happened so fast, and it was a surprise to O.J. O.J. Jackson just wanted to get out of Dodge.
O.J. indicated that he was not expecting it. However, he did get into the front driver's side seat. He was ultimately charged with accessory after the fact.
Franklin Scott accepted responsibility for what he did as well, and primarily because he knew that Elijah Jackson was going to offer testimony against him.
Franklin Scott pled guilty to first-degree murder. I'm pretty proud of that. It's a more certain outcome than going to trial. So I'm happy with the results.
Elijah Jackson is serving a 6-year sentence. Franklin Scott is serving 50 years.
The heartbreaking part about it was, if I recall correctly, the mothers knew each other from the neighborhood. That was a really profound thing to sit and observe.
I mean, I know Franklin's mother, but I hadn't seen Franklin in a long time, so I couldn't identify him from a cracked egg. I walked over, I said, how you doing? And she just started shaking and crying. My son was the one who killed your son. Of course, me, I hug her. And my kids are like, Mom, why are you hugging her? And I felt one mother to another. You know, my son is dead. Yours going away for 50 years. It's like he almost dead. But told him, I said, I have to forgive you for the God in me, but I'll never forget what you have stole from me and my family. You took something very dear from us. Lamont, Tree, Monty. You had no right to do that. You weren't God, but you tried to play God that day.
With the murder case resolved, the family continues to process their grief and replay Lamont's final moments.
Makai had just started walking right before Lamont passed. He shows me the phone, and I'm just like trying to hold back the tears. I had a feeling about Lamont like it was the last time I was going to see him. It was very weird when I think about it and how I felt like I had to just let him go because I was getting teary-eyed, and that was the last time I saw Lamont. Him sharing a moment from Makai being able to walk.
I wish I had offered him a ride that day. It's a lot of things you look at and you're like, you could have done differently, but yeah. I don't know. I just, like, I think about him all the time.
You know, Lamont knew we loved him, and he loved us. And at the end of the day, nothing else matters. Go ahead.
When you look at it, the person touches like so many people.
It's the last time you see pictures of all of the family together.
When that family was entering the house, he heard the gunshots.
911. Someone just shot our neighbors. Who shot them? We don't know.
There was a small gun safe. It had been pried open. Was this just a home invasion that went bad?
Sit there and think, what kind of relationship did they actually have?
This is not the all-American family that everybody might think they are.
In my opening statement, I told the jury panel, you're about to hear a tale of subterfuge, deception, and greed.
December 2003, Sugar Land, Texas. Kent and Tricia Whitaker and their two sons, Bart and Kevin, have called this affluent suburb home for more than a decade. It's a perfect fit for their upscale lifestyle.
Sugar Land was an amazing place to grow up. It was a community focused on faith, focused on friendships, relationships, a really tight-knit community. The Whitaker family was a pillar in the community. I attended a private school there in Sugar Land, and Kevin did too, and we were fast friends. The Whitaker family did so much together, whether it be fishing trips or camping trips, you know, times on the lake. Kent and Tricia maintained that really sweet closeness with their kids and that high level of trust and communication. They loved to experience life as a family.
I was the Whitakers' next door neighbor. They were very normal, kind, empathetic people. They seemed not troubled, unburdened. Life is good. That was my general vibe.
To friends and neighbors, the Whitakers seem to have it all. A happy family where 19-year-old Kevin looks up to his 23-year-old brother, Bart.
Kevin was very humble. He was a man of integrity, of character, incredibly honest. The guy was smart, very engaging. Bart was a little bit more quiet. You didn't know necessarily what he was thinking like you did Kevin.
Kent Whitaker is the co-owner of a thriving construction company. A hard worker, his financial success means he can provide his family with everything they might want. His wife, Tricia, is a dedicated part-time elementary school teacher.
She loved and knew every kid in every class every single year. And the interesting part was that she didn't have to work. right, because of Kent's job. But it told you a lot about her heart.
On December 10th, 2003, Kent and Tricia plan a special night out for the family to celebrate Bart's graduation from Sam Houston State University. At dinner, they present their son with a $4,000 Rolex watch as a graduation gift.
I know what a Rolex costs, and he bought a Rolex as a graduation gift. That's not an everyday thing.
Kent is a proud dad and takes photos so they'll have a permanent record of Bart's achievement.
I've seen these. I've seen those. Sitting there smiling like that. Very happy.
It's the last time you see pictures of all of the family together.
Someone has just shot our neighbors. Who shot them? We don't know.
I was there when they died. That was real, and I can't necessarily make sense of what I saw that night. I was sitting at my computer. I heard gunshots. I immediately dart out the front door. I get about midway down our sidewalk and I see Kent Whitaker laid on his back. You could see his body lit up by their front porch lights. And he was saying, Brandon, we've been shot. Call 911.
What kind of injuries did they have? I don't know. They just been shot.
Brandon's father, Cliff Stanley, rushes to the house and discovers that Kent Whitaker has been shot in the chest.
My dad runs out and starts rendering aid. I mean, multiple trips, back and forth with house, just doing what we can. It felt awful. It was gruesome. It was a horror movie.
While police race to the scene, another 911 call comes from inside the Whitaker home. It's Bart Whitaker.
I've been shot. Where is your wound? In the arm, my shoulder. I think I can't with my arm. Okay, who else has been shot in the house with you? It's my mom and my dad and my brother. Oh, God, I can't. I need you to hang on, Bart. I've got help on the way, okay? Do you know who shot you? No. Dark in here. Okay, when he left, Bart, did he leave out your back door? Yeah, I chased him that way.
When I arrived on scene, it was very chaotic. There was ambulances, there were multiple police cars, fire trucks, a helicopter.
When detectives arrive at the Whitaker home, they find Kent Whitaker hanging on to life.
EMS personnel had went in. They had taken vitals for Kevin Whitaker, and he was pronounced deceased. Patricia Whitaker was flown by helicopter to a Houston hospital, and we were told she died en route to the hospital. Bart Whitaker had been shot. He was being medically treated by EMS. 2 people were shot. Another 2 people were dead. So we knew within the first hour that it was a double murder.
Kent Whitaker and his son Bart are rushed to a nearby hospital. Detectives quickly arrive to get a statement from Bart, since he is the only one conscious. Bart tells them that the family had just arrived home from their celebratory dinner when he realized he forgot something.
Bart Whitaker had reported that he had actually walked out to his truck to retrieve a cell phone. But when the rest of the family was entering the house, there was a guy that was inside that house. So he heard the gunshots. Bart reported he had chased the shooter through the home and out the back of the house and been shot. by the offender. We had had several home invasion robberies. So the thought initially was, are they connected? Was this just a home invasion that went bad?
But something doesn't quite add up.
Probably the biggest thing that stuck out to us was every drawer in the rooms were pulled out exactly even with each other.
So this burglar basically like, purposely, I'm gonna pull out every drawer about this, so it'll make it look like I was trying to look for stuff. But you weren't looking for anything. You were just pulling out drawers. The officers immediately knew that.
To the investigators, seems to have the hallmarks of a staged burglary. Nothing appears to have been stolen.
There were electronics, there were computers, there was TVs. There was a Rolex watch that was found. There didn't appear to be anything taken. So things didn't add up exactly to being some type of burglary.
Burglars come in and leave within minutes. They smash everything they can, pick up everything in 3 minutes. That's what happens. They don't sit there and wait for people to come home and walk in through the front door and shoot them. It just doesn't happen.
While investigators try to make sense of why the Whitakers were gunned down, they realize they have another pressing matter in front of them.
We had a vague description of a dark figure that ran up through the back of the house. And now this person is loose in the neighborhood. So are they on foot? Did they get picked up by a car? Did they drive a car there and now they've driven away? Or are they hiding in someone's backyard and they've already shot 4 people? The public's in danger, and we were in a very tough spot. Where is he, or where could he be?
Police try to unravel a bewildering attack.
I crawled around for a bit. I really didn't know where I was hit. It just felt wrong.
And discover details of an inconceivable plot.
I was at the police station late one night, and there was a knock on the back door.
Do you have any idea who did the shooting?
Who did the shooting?
All the puzzle pieces just immediately connected, and realizing, gosh, the worst possible explanation for this is true.
As police in Sugar Land, Texas begin investigating the shooting at the Whitaker home, news travels fast in the tight-knit community.
I got a call from a friend. He's like, hey, there's been an incident, there's been a shooting. It was Kevin who had passed away, and Trisha had passed away as well. It was the most horrendous thing possible. And so at that moment, there's so much happening, you can't reconcile anything. You can't process, you can't grieve. It's just all hell's broken loose. December 10th, 2003 was a day that is burned in my memory.
I don't feel like I ever did process it. I just kind of did what I had to do and kept moving forward. It was just shocking. Sugar Land is incredibly safe. It's the kind of place where you don't even hesitate to take a walk at 3 a.m. They definitely made me more aware of my surroundings, of what's capable from people.
You know, the first question is what happened? What went down? And then why?
Detectives are urgently pursuing those answers at the Whitaker home. As they search through the house, they find a weapon and 4 empty shell casings.
There was a gun that was found in the kitchen area, which was odd. It's probably the murder weapon. Usually we don't find that the offender leaves the murder weapon on the scene. But it was an advantage for us because now we had the possibility maybe for fingerprints, for DNA, for other types of evidence that could be recovered from this gun. In one of the upstairs rooms, nothing in that room appeared to be touched at all, except for there was a small gun safe. It had been pried open. You could see pry marks around the frame. It was empty.
The gun safe was a small little box, maybe a foot by foot, tucked into a hidden area. Whoever did this knew what to look for and knew what was in the safe.
The discovery leads the investigators to question how familiar the killer was with the Whitaker family and their home.
It was odd that someone had this small gun safe out of this whole big house. Why weren't the computers disturbed? Why weren't the TVs taken? It just didn't make sense. So our job was to try to find out how many people were involved with this.
Most people are killed by people who know them. 78, 80%. It's very strange you have stranger on stranger. It just doesn't occur that much.
Three days after the murders, police are still scouring the evidence for leads on a motive or suspect when Bart Whitaker is discharged from the hospital. His father, Kent, is still in intensive care.
Up this way.
Despite the trauma he's just endured, Bart agrees to assist detectives by returning home to relive that terrifying night. The investigators hope he can remember something that will lead them to the killer.
It's 7:54 p.m. Officer DuBose is going to be playing the part of the suspect, and I'm turning it over to Bart for his direction of everyone.
We went through the crime, trying to figure out exactly what happened.
I was here when I was calling 911. I might have fallen forward. Okay. Right after I was shot. Okay. I crawled around for a bit. It felt... I really didn't know where I was hit. It just felt wrong. I mean, I couldn't move. My arm, I tried to push off the floor, and my arm wasn't working. I thought maybe I was hit in the side because it burned. So he went out the back door? Did you see him leave that back door? No. Okay. Yeah, I just don't remember.
They had him reenact the scene. And people generally, when it comes to crimes, they try to be very specific. Like he was standing here or something like that. And his was, well, I don't remember, it was this way, or could have been this way.
When the shot was fired, did you see any flashes of light? I don't remember. You ever physically make contact with the suspect? I don't think so. Okay, I don't know what I was trying to do. I know I was just trying to grab him. I don't think I got to him.
He was very vague about things you'd think he would remember.
At that point, we had no leads. We had just a family of 4 that had been shot, 2 that were deceased.
They came home at the wrong time, in the wrong place. That's the story that you typically hear, right? That's the initial reaction. It's just incredibly unfortunate, right? How does this even occur in Sugar Land?
Detectives investigating the murders of Tricia Whitaker and her son Kevin in Sugar Land, Texas, believe their killer was familiar with the Whitaker home and may not have been trying to rob them.
So we started doing a background on the family. The domestic relationship between Mr. and Mrs. Whitaker was nothing but perfect that we could find out. And every friend or family that we had interviewed said they had a great relationship.
Detectives turned their focus on the Whitakers' murdered son, 19-year-old Kevin.
Was he targeted for some reason? Was he involved in something that he shouldn't have been? But he had no criminal history. As we were interviewing friends and family members, Kevin seemed to be a good kid, and he was a tragic victim.
Detectives also take a closer look at the other Whitaker son, 23-year-old Bart, who was wounded in the attack and is their primary witness. It was his graduation from college that was being celebrated shortly before the murders.
Bart was supposed to graduate that coming Saturday. So we contacted Sam Houston State University, and we were told he wasn't graduating. As a matter of fact, he was a freshman as far as their academic rating, and he had like a 1.4 GPA. So we had a story that he was giving us that wasn't matching reality.
He was lying about going to school for the past 3 years. And so they zeroed in on him.
It sure seemed at the time it was too coincidental that this big family event had occurred, and then they get home from this event and they're all shot. So was Bart involved with what had happened? Was he not involved? We had to gather evidence.
Investigators want to keep what they've learned about Bart Whitaker under wraps until they can either clear him or tie him to the murders. But a local newspaper covering the case has also learned of his deceit and runs the story. Bart's father, Kent, still recovering in the hospital, is stunned and can't understand why Bart would lie.
Kent's response to it was, why didn't he tell us this? I just wish he would have, let the music stop and confess this to us.
How could you not know your kid's not going to college? So you sit there and think, what kind of relationship did they actually have?
Six days after the murders of his mother and brother, his father joined more than 1,000 friends and family at the funeral.
Gosh, that was a brutal day. I remember seeing Kent and Bart sitting on the front row and watching them, and, what are they thinking? What are they feeling? Just gutted for them and heartbroken for them.
We had multiple detectives that were there. We had actually had some recording devices that were placed around the area because there could be comments made. Because sometimes the parties involved go to the funerals, but we didn't find anything at all.
As the family mourns, Sugar Land police continue to focus on the questions that have arisen about Bart.
We had discovered that Bart had some involvement with the criminal justice system already. We found a 2001 incident report from the Waco Police Department that there was a female subject that was in an apartment with Bart Whitaker, and she overheard him talking about wanting to kill his dad. We had an officer that actually went out to the house. It was early in the morning and made contact with both Mr. and Mrs. Whitaker and told them why he was there. But they didn't believe Bart would be involved with something like that.
Later on, when the father finally talks, he says, we're just talking about the Menendez brothers. It wasn't anything serious at all. And so the father just believes him. And that's it.
In the days after the murders, life seems to return to some semblance of normalcy for Bart and his father, at least from the outside.
And they were still living in the same house together where two of their family members died, and the suspicion is growing that Bart was involved.
And it wasn't life as normal, but from the outside, it was a dad and a son who had gone through this tragic event, locking arms and leaning into one another.
We had to determine how much are we going to tell Mr. Whitaker, because his life still could be in jeopardy with Bart still being around. And we didn't tell him everything. We tried to be as honest as we could with him.
There were maybe a few times that Kent would say, hey, they're still trying to find the guy, or they're still looking into it.
Mr. Whitaker was in a very hard position at that point. Slowly, kind of the bow's starting to unravel here, where there's information about his only living son that, at least initially, isn't adding up.
Police know Bart Whitaker didn't pull the trigger, but they strongly suspect he is involved in the murders of his family.
Bart was very manipulative with friends, and that was information that we received as the investigation went on. That's when the intensity ramped up into trying to identify who does he currently hang around with and where were they at on December 10th of 2003. This is not the all-American family that everybody might think they are.
Detectives in Sugar Land, Texas suspect Bart Whitaker knows more than he's saying about the murders of his mother and brother, and in fact, may be involved in the crime. But they have been unable to find any solid evidence supporting their suspicions. Then, a week after the murders, as investigators contemplate their next move, an unexpected visitor drops by the police station.
The lead detective was at the police station late one night, and there was a knock on the back door. It was a gentleman by the name of Adam Hipp.
Adam Hipp tells the detective that he briefly went to college with Bart Whitaker, and he wants police to know that Bart's statement about killing his parents in 2001 was far from the joke he claimed it was.
He said, listen, Bart Whitaker talked to me about killing his family before, back in 2001.
Adam tells police that Bart claimed once his parents and brother were dead, he would receive all of the family's assets, including their home and life insurance policies worth over $1 million. He says Bart offered him a cut if he would be his triggerman.
The detective had Mr. Hipp actually draw a map that showed where he was supposed to stand inside the house, and he would shoot the family members as they walked in. And that's exactly what happened on December 10th, 2003. Adam Hipp started working for us. We had him make recorded phone calls with Bart Whitaker to get him to talk about the crime.
Detectives coach Adam to tell Bart he knows he killed his parents, and then threaten to go to the police with this information unless he receives $20,000.
And that's when Bart Whitaker says, yeah, I can pay you some money, basically.
Bart never really came out directly and said, I did it, but there were enough indicators there.
In my opinion, we had probable cause to arrest Bart Whitaker on basis of what we had with Adam Hipp coming in. We did have that. Did we have enough to prosecute him and convict him? No. We didn't have any details.
But Adam Hipp's call to Bart points the investigators to someone else who may be able to help them build their case.
When Adam Hipp is on the phone, Bart Whitaker mentions Chris Brashear. And what is Bart Whitaker? Chris is going to keep his mouth shut.
Adam tells police that Chris Brashear is a former roommate of Bart's. Detectives track down Chris and bring him in for questioning.
Well, first of all, I appreciate you coming down. Yeah, man.
After establishing the relationship between Bart and Chris, detectives hone in on the night of the murder.
Do you have any idea who did the shooting?
Who did the shooting?
Yeah, any ideas at all?
And I mean, it's a pretty gross incident to me. I mean, I wouldn't even know where to start. I mean, it's kind of a blunt question.
Has Bart ever approached you about killing his family?
No.
He's never talked to you about that or anything like that? No. Never even joked around about it?
No.
So, did you go anywhere that night?
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
Went to the set. Hooters?
Hooters?
Yeah, that's right.
And it was you and Steven?
It was, yeah, Steven, his girlfriend, and myself, yeah.
Investigators believe that Chris Brashear is lying to them. They learn that Steven is Steve Champagne, another former roommate of Bart's. And if Chris is providing Steve as a false alibi, detectives consider whether he might be involved as well.
Steve Champagne, is enlisted in the Marines. We're looking at cell phone records, financial records. So who is communicating with who?
Police quickly locate Steve and bring him in for questioning.
Now, they say they don't know anything about it. They denied anything. So at least that's where they start.
Finally, as pressure grows, the story begins to change.
I think Steve Champagne, I think his conscience finally got to him. Then he let out a little information about when maybe I was involved.
Do you feel partly responsible?
Oh, yeah.
Steve Champagne changed his story and confessed.
Steve tells the detectives that Bart convinced him and Chris Brashear to join a plot to kill his family so he could inherit his parents' fortune. Steve admits he was the getaway driver, and Chris Brashear was the trigger man.
He had taken Chris Brashear over to the house, parked his car a street or two over behind the house. Chris hid inside the house and shot the family members as they walked in on December 10th of 2003.
Did Chris say where he found the gun in the house?
No, I remember hearing something about a safe or something like that, but I don't know for sure.
Who do you think is the most responsible?
Probably Chris for shooting him. I mean, Bart planning it, yeah.
The big piece of information, evidence-wise, that Steve was able to provide to us is they had a bag that had a lot of evidence from the crime, walkie-talkies, water bottle, ammunition, that they tossed into Lake Conroe.
This is a big lake, man-made lake. They throw that in there. Now, what would be the odds of somebody being able to find that?
Steve Champagne, a suspect in the murders of Tricia and Kevin Whitaker, claims a bag full of crucial evidence was tossed into Lake Conroe, 50 miles north of Houston, and agrees to the spot.
The police department with their scuba tank, they go out and look for it. In water, you can't see your hand in front of you. They found the damn thing.
Inside the bag, detectives find the tool used to break into the Whitakers' gun safe.
They even found the pry bar, and they managed to match it up by the scrape marks. They even found the cell phone they were using. Now, you tell me what kind of police work that is. God bless.
There was DNA that was recovered that was Chris Brashear's from a water bottle. There was ammunition that was consistent with the ammunition that was involved that killed the family. Tangible physical evidence that links these individuals to this crime.
With the evidence now in hand, detectives have what they need to confront Bart, but he's nowhere to be found.
Bart Whitaker's Tahoe was found in an apartment complex in Houston. Both of the doors were found open. We sent detectives to the scene. We believe he's on the run.
We just lost him. People don't run when they're innocent, they really don't. Flight is a very good indication of guilt.
Kent Whitaker told us that there was money that was taken from the house. So Bart had some money to survive. Our job was now to figure out where he was.
The news of Bart's disappearance is one more shock for his friends and family, already devastated by the murders.
That was the big kind of aha moment, was when Bart left. So that's really when everything, all the puzzle pieces just immediately connected. And I realized, gosh, the worst possible explanation for this is true.
It's too much to really break it down into a coherent single thought. Shock, disgust, and disbelief almost that someone could plot and plan out something like this.
police send out a nationwide alert to be on the lookout for Bart Whitaker. With the cash taken from his home, he could be anywhere. Meanwhile, Steve Champagne and Chris Brashear are charged with first-degree murder for the deaths of Trisha and Kevin Whitaker.
These were kids that came from great backgrounds, but were manipulated by Bart Whitaker to kill his family. And they went along with it because Bart had promised them a cut in his inheritance. And he had told them that, hey, it's going to take a little while, but I am going to give you some money.
For months, there are no leads to Bart's whereabouts.
So we worked with Crime Stoppers to put out that we were looking for the whereabouts of Bart Whitaker.
There's a Crime Stoppers award of $10,000. If you get information that leads to this arrest, we'll pay you 10 grand.
18 months after the murders, police get a call from a man named Rudy Rios.
Rudy Rios said that he had known Bart Whitaker and he knew where Bart Whitaker was because Bart Whitaker had assumed his identity and he went to Mexico.
Rudy Rios claims Bart paid him $3,000 to be transported to Mexico and that Bart has been living there for more than a year.
Bart Whitaker shacks up with a female and begins a relationship with her.
Mexican officials agree to cooperate with American law enforcement. Almost 2 years after the murders, they track Bart down, and on September 24, 2005, he is returned to the U.S.
We call up Ken Whitaker and said that he's going to be getting out of Mexico, but there was no deals made whatsoever. They just got him out. Put him back here and put him in jail. We had already made a decision. The only person we were seeking the death penalty was the mastermind, Bart Whitaker.
But Bart's defense attorneys work to thwart the possibility of a death sentence. At the heart of their strategy is Kent Whitaker.
Mr. Whitaker did not want the state of Texas to put his son to death, which is usually just kind of a reverse of roles where the family wants the maximum.
To forgive somebody of doing the most horrendous thing possible serves as a model of forgiveness. Something I think about all the time.
His standard was, I believe he's changed, and I'm going to forgive him. My standard is, he hasn't changed, and you can't forgive him.
All rise.
Bart Whitaker's capital murder trial begins on March 3, 2007, some 3.5 years since the killings at his family's home.
In my opening statement, I told the jury panel, you're about to hear a tale of subterfuge, deception, and greed, which will lead you to one conclusion, that Bart Whitaker had his family murdered. And that's the only conclusion he got.
Prosecutors put admitted getaway driver Steve Champagne on the stand. He explains how Bart outlined his murder for cash scheme.
The conversation was about when the family came back from eating dinner, that Chris would be in the house and shoot them.
The jury hears that Bart staged a fight with the gunman, and they'd agreed in advance Bart would be shot in the arm to divert suspicion. The trial lasts 6 days before the case goes to the jury on March 8, 2007. They deliberate for just an hour and a half before coming to a unanimous decision.
The guilty verdict was very quick.
Now the jury must decide whether Bart Whitaker should live or die.
Call your next witness. Bart Whitaker. He needs to be sworn, Your Honor.
Bart didn't testify during his trial, but now, in the penalty phase, makes a last-ditch effort to save his life.
Please stand before the clerk and be sworn.
Bart Whitaker has been convicted of murdering his mother and brother. Now he's trying to convince the jury not to sentence him to death.
Was testifying, I actually had the defendant admit that he had no reason to hate his parents, but he did it anyway.
The only people I've ever hated, and I know it was not for the right reasons, but the only people I ever hated were my parents and my brother.
The prosecutor confronts Bart with his family's final moments, the photos taken by his father at the celebration for Bart's supposed graduation. He tells the jury one photo from that night is particularly disturbing.
He shoots a finger at him while he's doing it. Now, some people don't make that much of it. I'm sitting there going, you understand something? He's shooting a finger at him knowing they're going to be dead. It's very chilling.
The jury deliberates for 10 hours before sentencing Bart Whitaker to death.
It's a hard question, and people have a lot of opinions about it because they're removed from it. But when you know the people and you've been involved with them, and definitely as intimately involved with this entire murder as I was, you see things a little different. Because I believe Bart should have received the death penalty.
Bart's accomplices agree to plea deals. Triggerman Chris Brashear is sentenced to life behind bars, and Steve Champagne, the getaway driver, receives a lighter 15-year sentence for cooperating as a key witness.
How do you even begin to broach that conversation with someone? Like, there's no icebreaker for, hey, will you help me kill my family? It's brought me to the conclusion that evil is real, very tangible, and it has a long plan behind it, and I truly think Bart is evil.
Over the next decade, Kent Whitaker remarries and builds a new life. He continues to fight to get his son's death sentence commuted.
Kent Whitaker never said he was okay with what Bart did. He always said he should be punished, okay? But he didn't like us seeking the death penalty. That was it.
When rules are exhausted, his execution is scheduled for 6 p.m. on February 22nd, 2018. Then, with just 30 minutes until Bart is set to die, Texas Governor Greg Abbott grants him clemency.
And left, and I found on the news that they commuted his life.
I'll never forget the night that the news came out. I never forget that moment of seeing Kent break down. Man, it was over a decade of emotions. For me, I was on the side of commuting the sentence. Should he ever see the light of day? Absolutely not. That's a no-brainer.
One day, Kent's gonna die. And Bart will have no one left fighting for him, talking to him, coming to see him. And he'll have to live the rest of his life suffering like that. So I think he would have gotten off easy with the death penalty in this regard.
Trisha was gold. I find myself getting emotional thinking back to her. She cared for us. She loved us. She was invested in our lives. I miss Trisha dearly. I'm gutted that Kevin is gone. You know, Kevin was not a typical 18, 19-year-old, right? He wasn't a typical high schooler. He was always wiser than us.